Because it's done, it's a cultural tradition that's been going on for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And the thinking in the regions where it's done is that in the heat of those countries, and in how people of different parts of the world look differently and tend to have certain traits among themselves that are consistent, they say that the women in those countries get more excited in the heat because they have larger sexual parts. And so the thinking is if they trim those down, then the girls are going to be less likely to sneak out from the house and meet up with men, and then be pregnant and cause wars between tribes because of her indiscretion. So, this is what was common in the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It's common in northern Africa and around the Mediterranean area. Again, according to the United Nations study, religion had nothing to do with it. No religion, it's not told to do by any Bible or Quran. Prophet Muhammad didn't tell women or families to do it to their daughters. But what we do see is Prophet Muhammad telling people that if you have to do it, this is like trying to get your kids not to wear jeans, right? Everybody's doing it. If you have to do it, then only take the top or the tip of the clitoris off. There's no sewing up of the vagina or excising the labia or anything like that. It's only that little bit, so that when people say, well, has she been circumcised? You can say yes.
Many Muslim women have talked about this, and I've never known any to have it done. It's something that I think the media takes and sensationalizes and puts the fear of God into people, like, oh my gosh, this is coming and it's going to happen to your daughters too. But one thing I do have to point out that I think is quite ironic is it's so often the focus is on the women, but we're still doing it to men, Christian or Muslim. To men.
Circumcision.
Yeah, circumcision.
We are.
And why are we Jewish?
That's right.
Yeah, and Jewish. So why are we so worried about the women when the men are still having it done? Shouldn't we be worried for the men too?
but the difference here, though, but
yeah.
again, the difference is in how much damage was done. The girls were truly suffering, and they're dying from this, when Islam very clearly says that if it is unhealthy for you, it's forbidden to you. And the sewing up of the vagina so that the girls can barely function and may often die in childbirth because it's closed up. This is so very dangerous for them.
Absolutely.
So it's absolutely forbidden.
And Islamic.
It is un-Islamic.
Right. And it seemed to say in some places that women were not, if a girl was born, that was seen as not as good as if a boy was born, and so they just seemed to...
Before Islam, that was the way. And Islam then, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to do so many things to let the people around him know that you should be proud and loving of your daughters. And one of the things he did was, even with his great-granddaughter, he went in prayer with his granddaughter on his shoulder. He's leading the men in prayer, and right behind the men are all the women in prayer. And he's got his granddaughter up with him when he's bowing. He put her on the floor right in front of him, and he stood up, and then he went down on the floor, and as soon as he started to stand up again, he'd put her back on his shoulder. And then after the prayer was over, he kept her in his arms the whole time so that all the men could see, our daughters are to be cherished. I mean, in so many ways, he showed this. When his own daughters would come in the room, one of them, he would come in. When she came in, he would scoot over so she got the warm place where he had just been, and then he'd snuggle up with her in the group, the meeting of the business.